very much, and I appreciate being here. Recently, civil society has had a completely different role when it relates to electoral processes. And there's many organizations in civil society that specialize in national election monitoring. Transparencia Electoral, who I work with, has been involved in both national and international observations because election observation, as we know, is a really important part of the democratic processes in Latin America. They're directly related to principles of accountability and transparency that have to inform the work of all election management bodies. They also have become, these civil society organizations, a vital part of national and regional discussions about what does constitute a free and fair election, and about what standards and what education needs to occur for an election to be considered democratic. And civil society has become more and more involved in these activities, and often deployed more observation missions comprised of former election officials, academics who study the quality of democracy in elections, and practitioners who observe to learn about and recommend new policies to guarantee inclusion, transparency, and to improve the integrity of elections. As has been said numerous times before, including by Professor Diamond, in today's climate of democratic backsliding, it is more important than ever that efforts to uphold and defend democracy are diversified. Civil society organizations can provide a unique perspective. And of course, education has a pivotal role in the success of democracy and should prepare the four most important actors in our elections: political parties, education, election administrative bodies, civil society organizations, and citizens. Not only do election officials need to be prepared for all aspects of election administration or election monitors to assess all stages of the electoral process, but as has been already said quite clearly, citizens have to be able to identify what are official and credible sources, and also should understand their own responsibility to protect democracy. And INE has done an amazing job in that arena to rebut and surface disinformation quickly so that people can be more understanding of the truth. This is a task that is shared both with civil society organizations and election management bodies, and in promoting civic engagement, supporting democratic governance, and also being involved in civics education. Given the backsliding, educational campaigns need to be reformed to address all the challenges that democracy is facing, including debunking disinformation, which is important, but to educate citizens about how to identify the information that's false and to try to stifle the disinformation campaigns from getting traction. Transparencia Electoral has had numerous programs that they've organized to promote the discussion of key aspects of the electoral process and to train election officials. Recently did something like that in Salamanca, Spain, but they have also become a key regional actor in election observations, in particular with the deployment of first ever subnational election observation missions by an international civil society organization. for the purpose of education in local local groups, local entities. And these missions took place in the local elections in the state of Durango, Mexico in 2022, and also in a mayoral local election in Petrolandia, Brazil in 2021. And the Transparencia Electoral received an honor from the Global Network of Electoral Justice for the work in the Brazilian election. And I want to talk about that a little bit because it deals with the issues that we're discussing right now. In Brazil, we worked with the electoral judges who had gone to, in this small town in Petrolandia, to the elementary schools all the way to the high schools to talk about the upcoming election, to talk about the issues, and all the children voted, and they voted on paper for which of the candidates they wanted. And ultimately, the day before the election in Petrolandia, the children came, and there were auditors from a local a nearby county, and the children voted on the machines, using the election machines, using their papers, but then using the machines. And the auditors looked at the comparisons, audited them, and they found the consistency between what the machines did and what the children had to be 100% accurate, 100% accurate. And this was covered by news sources throughout Brazil, mostly in Brasilia and Rio de Janeiro. And as a result of that, and of course, you know that Bolsonaro today and previously in that election as well has said that the voting machines were not accurate, they were fraudulent, and that the elections were going to be fraudulent. And in this case, because it was absolutely demonstrated to the public that in fact it was accurate and correct, the people who voted in that election had 98% participation, and very few were nullified of the votes. And the reason for that was their children talked to them about what they knew, and they saw the evidence in advance, not afterwards, but in advance, that their voting was going to be fair and free. That was a huge accomplishment, in my opinion, because it makes us realize that that's what, not only is the education needed. I'm sorry, I'm over at my time, I think. But in any case, it's very important to democracy what we have done, and all international agencies should understand the importance of the work in the democratic process. And I want to thank INE as well. You have to be commended for your openness and for promoting the discussion about the challenges that are faced by democracies, particularly when it comes to elections. So thank you very much. I don't want to overstay my welcome here.
Not at all.